Hey, we're about to start season 3 of What to Watch. I cannot believe it, but 3 seasons already.
Where's the time going?
I don't know.
I feel older. Do I have wrinkles?
No,
Do I have wrinkles in my face?
You look the same, as great as usual, but it was just, we've been doing this for a while, man. It just seemed like yesterday when, you know, we were just asking people what their favorite movie thoughts and stuff were. Like, remember that time that, you know, with Savannah?
Hey, Savannah, real quick question for you. What is your favorite horror movie?
Your stupid movie show?
No, just continue what you were doing.
Brandon?
I don't remember.
She may not do it right here. It's okay. If Brandon ever does the dance, I'll make sure I get that on camera, and I'll re-edit that in there. So.
Even though she thinks we're losers. And,
it's losers, and I spelled that correctly.
Where did you come from again?
Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Oh, go down on get on the ground. Where did you come from? Where did you go?
I've been Cotton Eye Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Hey, Connor, what's your favorite horror movie?
Hey,
Yeah.
what have I told you about asking me questions in the bathroom?
Not to?
That's right. Peyton,
Yeah.
you can go now.
All right. Cool.
I literally don't know who any of those people are.
I don't know them either. They don't remember me.
Hardly very memorable.
It's no.
Didn't leave a good first impression.
They did not. They did not. Still, one question though. Why were you in the bathroom with Connor?
My lawyers have advised me not to answer that question. Let's get on with the show. Let's get it on. Let's get on. Let's go. Roll it.
You don't have a lawyer, do you?
No, can't afford one. Roll it!
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of What to Watch. As always, I'm the lovely Christopher Gates.
And I'm the lovely Peyton Fretwell.
Oh, just look at that. You're so fresh with that little nice look of yours. This episode is brought to you by our new sponsor, Eraserless Pencils.
Eraserless pencils, a constant life reminder that some mistakes are permanent. Eraserless pencils at your local Circuit City.
And your Radio Shack as well.
Radio Shack, of course, always has the good stuff.
Might as well just use a pen, actually. Anyway, on the docket today, we got a lot of movie and TV news to talk about. Isn't that right, Mr. Fretwell?
Yeah, of course, Mr. Gates. We have some great television and movie news. We're going to start off with a little bit of movie news. With an article that came out today with an interview from Taylor Sheridan. You may know Taylor Sheridan as the writer of Sicario and Hell or High Water that came out last year. Both
one of my
great
favorites.
Oscar-nominated films, critically acclaimed, and he's also directing and writing the movie Wind River that comes out later this year. Looks great. Can't wait for it. He's also working on the sequel to Sicario, which we said it came out in 2014. He's working on the script for the sequel. The movie's called Soldado, which means soldier in Spanish. And yeah, I took Spanish 101.
I took it for 3 years. I shouldn't know that. But anyway.
But he said in a recent interview that Soldado is going to make Sicario look like a comedy. A comedy. A bunch of laughs. What do you think about that, Chris?
Well,
Sicario, looking back on Sicario, was there anything about that movie that made you laugh?
You know what? Apparently, I guess there was plenty of scenes, especially when they're doing the one stop on the bridge and the traffic's backed up and they shoot the guys inside the car. The first time,
hilarious.
I was sitting there thinking, I was walking on the sunshine. I was like, why is this song playing? It's so funny. No, there's nothing about Sicario that I would sit there and say it was funny.
I think he was just trying to convey how dark Soldado is going to be, which, I mean, we didn't expect anything less.
Of course.
But there's no way. I feel like this is just a director / writer trying to promote his movie.
Oh, no. You know what? It's funny that he used that choice of words to compare Soldado to Sicario, because anyone who saw Sicario, they will sit there and tell you there's nothing light about that movie. That is just I mean, it's
super dark.
It's a super dark movie. That's like putting a laugh track on Zero Dark 30.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just not going to happen. And so, yeah, that's actually a bad idea. Do that, Captain Big Brother. But
Detroit coming to theaters.
Detroit. I do want to see that, actually. But coincidentally, no, I do think that's just, like you said, it's just a director, the writer just promoting the movie and just giving you a set tone of what's to come. That if you thought Sicario was the bad movie. Oh man, you haven't seen
Yeah.
that. And I'm okay with that because if there's one thing that I don't like more so, anything else is when sequels come out, a lot of sequels necessarily think that being darker and grittier makes the movie better.
Yeah, but in this way,
But in this way, it works. It works. That's what you would expect. I would expect that from the sequel. I wouldn't expect nonetheless. So I think it's a good. I like that. I'm okay with that.
This guy's obviously known for writing really dark storylines, and we'll segue into just like how much we're excited for this new film. Sicario, probably one of my favorite movies of 2014. Definitely one of my favorites going into the Academy Awards, winning for several categories. Unfortunately, not for cinematography, which Roger Deakins is a cinematographer for that movie. That man just cannot get an Oscar.
No, he cannot.
So many great films.
It is a great.
I'm hoping they get him for Soldado because I feel like a lot of the, and this is me being a critic, a lot of the visual language of Sicario was because of his great cinematography.
Oh, it was. It was. It sets the tone of the movie, everything from just how hot it was out there, the sun, to the soldiers themselves being
And that night
prepared
vision
for
scene,
the night vision scene itself. Everything about that movie, the cinematography set it up. It wasn't Benicio del Toro being an excellent actor himself. All that
Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin.
Yep, you
Josh
just said
Brolin.
it. Can't say his name. So yeah, all that it sets the tone for the whole movie. I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel. Hopefully, it will not disappoint. I don't think it will. It's in the good hands.
Taylor Sheridan has given us no reason hasn't given us any reason to expect a bad movie.
Even Hell and High Water was a fantastic movie.
It was a fantastic movie, and Wind River looks like it's going to be another great addition to this man's ever-growing filmography. And I'm so excited for Soldado. Still don't think, however dark Soldado is, Sicario will never, ever be viewed as a comedy.
Well, you know, it's funny because, like you said, how dark can you take a movie to make it dark? And if you compare Batman Begins to Dark Knight, you can see like, oh, Batman Begins itself was not a lighthearted movie. But you take the Dark Knight and it intensifies. I think in this case, I think Soldado, is it going to be severely dark? No. I mean, you're not talking about no NC-17 type movie over here.
No.
But
it is the cartel, so
it's a cartel, but I think it's going to be more intense. That's where it is.
I'm hoping we see the return of Emily Blunt's character. She seemed really shook up by the end of Sicario.
And sometimes intense moments is what really sells it, because one of the biggest things that makes Dunkirk such a great movie is its intensity. It doesn't have to be the violence. It's just what's happening and the characters reacting to it. And that in itself can sell the movie.
Can't wait for the sequel to Dunkirk. Dunkado. That wasn't a funny joke. I tried.
It's okay.
I tried.
Sorry. Actually, though, not to segue, I saw someone post on YouTube, Dunkirk the video game. It was the original Call of Duty, and it was a part where he got stuck in hard mode and he kept dying because the sniper kept shooting him. And I was just like, that's a funny movie. I mean, that's funny video. That's a funny video. You win YouTube. You win internet guy. Go ahead.
We're moving into some television news. There are some early reports about the new Inhumans show.
Yes.
And this show, from the very first trailer, from the very first moment it was announced, I was like, okay. And then they released, we're going to shoot it in IMAX. I don't know about that. Then they released the trailer. Wasn't a fan of the trailer. I thought a lot of it looked really cheap, even though they spent a lot of money on this show, especially in advertising. It was all over Comic-Con. It was just plastered all over in advertisement. And now we're getting early reports that this pilot is some of Scott Buck's worst work. And for those of you who don't know who Scott Buck is this kind of infamous producer.
Infamous.
I use the word infamous because he is famous for not making good things.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
It's a very nice way of putting it. I'm not a fan of his.
You know what the problem is, and Marvel's going to run into this, not everything they produce or do is going to be gold. And I think the Inhumans, what was originally supposed to be one of their movies that was slated, that's supposed to come out, 2019, now it got made to a TV series. Instead, in its place, we'll have the Captain Marvel movie and whatever other Captain America, whatever other thing they got slated for that.
A lot of people don't remember that. Inhumans was supposed to be a movie.
Yeah, Inhumans was supposed to have been a movie. And instead it made it into a TV series because the talk was we don't know how much longer Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. may last around. And so, and Fox is getting his own X-Men TV show. And not only that, Legion on FX is amazing.
So
if you haven't seen it, watch it. Legion is a fantastic show, which I think is funny that Fox has better X-Men shows than they have X-Men movies at this point. But anyway, ding. But Inhumans, I was with you on that. I saw the trailer and I was gonna keep an open mind because honestly, I never got to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at first, but it grew on me over time. It did. It grew on me over time, and I was like, okay, you know, especially these last 2 seasons, they introduced Ghost Rider and everything, and Marvel themselves, their TV series, especially the Netflix shows, have been well done with Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Marvel television shows on Netflix because since we're talking about Scott Buck, you can't bring him up without talking about Iron Fist. And he was also the producer of Iron Fist, which also got critically panned. Now, I wasn't as big of a critic of Iron Fist as a lot of people were. I definitely didn't think it deserved the Rotten Tomato score that it got. I believe it got somewhere in the low 20s.
Yeah, low 20s, yeah.
It was just, it got decimated. And I didn't think it was that bad. I definitely think it could have been a lot better. It was one of those shows that made questionable writing decisions. Some of the dialogue was clunky. You could tell some of the fight choreography wasn't as well rehearsed because apparently they only gave the lead guy playing Danny Rand, I'm lost on his name, but they only gave him maybe 2 weeks to learn the fight choreography, and that is terrible for somebody you're wanting to do their own stunts. And it goes to producing. It
does go to producing. It goes to the direction. And you can tell Iron Fist is one of the shows, if you sit down and watch it, the last half of the season of the show is significantly better than the first because it seems like the first is muddled. Because I remember watching
the first 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, it takes a minute. And it's not as strong as, you know, the first 4, 5, 6 episodes of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, or Daredevil. Both seasons, and so that you said that goes back to producing, and it goes. And people think that producers don't do a lot. Producers do a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't know, not to get sidetracked, there's a famous. You can search on YouTube. Kevin Smith tells one of my favorite stories when he used to work on Superman, and the producer that he was working with was John Hughes, not John Hughes. Dang it, I'll put his name in there. I don't want to say John Hughes because that's the guy that did all the 16 Candles and all that stuff. That's not him. That's not him.
That would have been great, though.
Yeah,
the John Hughes Superman movie.
John Hughes Superman movie. I don't want to be Superman anymore. Just playing the 80s video.
You're not my real parents. Slams the door.
Slams the door. I actually wouldn't mind seeing that.
Snaps the world in half by slamming his door.
And so, John, I think it's John Peters. I'll put his name down. Anyway, point is, the story, and you should search for it on YouTube. You'll see it. It's about 2 30-minute movies, 2 30-minute videos, and he talks about as a producer his elements that he wanted to do with Superman. And if he made the Superman movie he wanted to do, he didn't want Superman to fly, not to wear the costume, and basically fight a giant spider in the 3rd act. That's what he wanted to do.
So not Superman.
Not basically. Yeah. But Kevin Smith wrote it because he wanted to do it. The movie never got made, but the big punchline, I'm sorry, if you just skip this part if you want to actually watch yourself. But the punchline was, a movie that Kevin Smith went and saw a couple years later had all those elements in it, had some of those elements in it. And that movie was The Wild Wild West. Because he said, this is a terrible movie, and out of nowhere, a giant spider comes up. I bring this up because people don't think producers don't have a lot to do with this stuff. They do. And with Inhumans getting the bad rep it is getting right now, that has a lot to do with him as a producer. As you were even telling me earlier, he was involved with the last few seasons of Dexter.
I was a huge fan of Dexter a few years ago. I didn't watch it in its original run, so I started watching it as it aired on Netflix when it came on Netflix. And talk about a show that you could just tell that the whole spirit of the show had just changed. The first 4 seasons of Dexter are some of the best seasons of television you'll ever watch. It's heart-wrenching, it's suspenseful, it's weird, it's funny, and it's some of the best Showtime has ever produced. And then the 5th season comes. The 5th season wasn't actually that bad, but it definitely was not as good as the first 4.
Exactly.
And that you're expected to have a show go on as long as Dexter did. About the 5th season, there usually kind of is a dip in quality. People start to leave, and you get toward the point where you need to wrap it up. Showtime didn't want to wrap it up since it was one of their biggest shows at the time, so they got this young guy from fresh off of his stay on HBO with 6 Feet Under, who knew Michael C. Hall. Got all these Emmy nominations from 6 Feet Under. Comes on to Dexter, arguably 3 of the worst seasons of television, especially for all my Dexter fans. That series finale was an atrocity. It was insulting, to be honest. And then to hear that this guy was the showrunner producer of Iron Fist, I didn't have good hopes going into Iron Fist. I didn't think it was that bad, but it definitely wasn't good. Yeah. And then to hear this about Inhumans, it honestly makes me wonder how this guy keeps getting work. And I mean, not anything Scott Buck personally. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Yeah. He's just not a good producer.
You know what? It's the I hate to throw out Zack Snyder's name, but it reminded me of. I use Zack Snyder as an example, because I felt at the time when Warner Brothers needed someone to direct their reboot for Superman.
Exactly.
They needed someone because a lot of people don't know the Superman franchise has to be, Warner Brothers has to keep making Superman movies or do something with the Superman property. Otherwise, they'll lose it, and the Schuster family, the Schuster and the Siegel family will get it back, and they can take it to anyone they want to. So at that time, they were about to lose it. They went and just got. I'm not saying that Zack Snyder wasn't the director they wanted, but he's just there. Same thing with this producer. He's just that guy that sometimes that if you need someone, he's just, say he's there. You've seen it.
End up with him.
You just end up. You've seen it plenty of times with NFL teams. You're just like, how come this quarterback keeps getting jobs? It's because something happens. And it's just like, oh, let's go get this guy. Or you're always, it's like, man, how many teams is Ryan Fitzpatrick going to play for? Or how many times is Jay Cutler going to be drinking on the sidelines? Bam. That's the same thing. And it happens with producing. And that's the problem, because good producers tend to stay on good projects, and good directors tend to stay on their good stuff. And now I'm talking about regular producing. Now, if you're an executive producer, executive producers, they don't do jack. Christopher Nolan was an executive producer of Man of Steel. That should tell you that something.
Couldn't tell.
And he was against the ending. He was like, I don't think this is a good idea. And Zack Snyder was like, I'm going to do it.
Danny DeVito was an executive producer on Pulp Fiction. Fun fact, look it up.
That's true.
It's true.
It's very true. So just saying, that basically all they're saying is, I'm just going to give you some money.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, hopefully Inhumans, I think as a show, maybe it'll get better, because I actually am looking forward to it, because I like this. I like what Marvel's
want it to be good. We obviously want it to be good.
Yeah, because I like what Marvel's doing with their universe, both TV series and the movies, but we'll see.
Yeah. And speaking of Jay Cutler, every time I imagine him, I just think of a beard with arms and legs. That's all I think of.
That's all he is.
That is basically what he is.
My favorite picture someone at Photoshop was of him as a Chicago Bears uniform, him wearing sunglasses with a cigarette and his baby in his hand. And the baby's holding his beer. And he just takes the beer, and he's like, I don't got enough hands to throw a football.
Yeah. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and all 1,000 of those words are Bears.
And yet he's getting more calls than Colin Kaepernick. But
yes, he is.
That's for another discussion. Anyway, next on the docket.
Speaking of things not looking so good, we're talking about the box office this week. A lot of some not so good movies looking like came out this week.
I think there's we'll see.
We'll start out with the less obvious one. Dark Tower came out this week.
Yeah.
Dark Tower came out this week, and a lot of people were excited about it. A lot of people were really suspicious about it because, obviously it's polarizing with the book readers, and it's some of the people don't know the source material because, the Dark Tower books came out in the 70s, 80s. They're old books, and they're 8 books now.
Yeah.
So,
and it's from one of the best American authors of all time, Stephen King.
Yeah, and obviously, Stephen King is kind of having a resurgence right now. It seems like everybody's trying to get Stephen King. You got a television, a movie of Gerald's Game is being made. There's a Dark Tower TV series in the make with Netflix. There's Mr. Mercedes is coming out on Amazon Prime.
It's being remade.
Yeah, it's being remade. So you got a lot of Stephen King stuff going on. Obviously, Dark Tower, one of his biggest properties, is getting made into this movie. It's only 95 minutes long.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's borrowing bits from this 8-book, just master woven epic. And you gotta figure that its Rotten Tomatoes score is reflective of how condensed all of the source material is.
Well, there's a lot of things negative that was leading up to the movie. You brought up an excellent point in some earlier, previous episodes of What to Watch about how the trailer wasn't even released until what, about 2 months until the movie's.
And then the screen, yeah, they didn't release the trailer until maybe 2 months before the movie came out.
Yeah.
And then they just push, and it's kind of a little late for all that. Yep. I found out that apparently there were two companies, two teams that were in charge of the marketing for this movie, and they had each piece of marketing, posters, trailers, had to be approved by both parties before it could get released to the public. So that probably had a lot to do with why it took so long. And then also what was a big red flag for me was that the screenings for the movie weren't until the day before it was released. That is always a red flag.
That's always a red flag for those who don't know.
If you are a person that follows like film screenings or you try to see free screenings of movies before they actually come out, if a movie is being released if the screening for the movie is the day before it comes out, that's because they don't want critics or people to spread that word of mouth to as many people as they can. They want to minimize that window you're able to tell people.
It's even worse if they don't do a critic screening for it. They just only do it the day of. That's really like, don't even go see
garbage.
The movie, because that's pretty awful.
And that segues.
And in comparison, say, in the case of like Disney, which like when Star Wars comes out, they'll do the advanced screening, but people have to sign waivers saying they can't talk about it to a certain time.
Exactly.
That's different. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, those NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements.
But
we'll use that to segue into this. Now, the Emoji Movie is a completely different story. Now, Dark Tower, we'll go back and forth. The Dark Tower, I think, is just a result of too many people trying to get their voices heard. Obviously, not good direct. I forgot to bring this up. It's written by one of the people who wrote, I think, Transformers. Not this last one, but the
Roberto Orco. There's Alex Kurtzman, I think Roberto Orci. Sorry.
I think he has an A name. I think it's like Akiva or something like that. Look it up. You'll know who I'm talking about.
On it. But I'm not fans of their movies either. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, you kind of knew what you had going into it. My problem with the Emoji Movie. It's a movie that, and I'm surprised that as many people went to go see it as they did, because I didn't even see a teaser for this movie. I saw a poster for this movie and said, no, because I knew exactly what it represented. I didn't want to see it. I didn't know anyone who wanted to see it. I was like, who's this movie for?
Well, we do know someone who went and saw it.
We do know somebody who went and saw it.
Put your picture up there right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Our What to Watch correspondent, Maddie Ray.
Yeah, what do you have to say about that? It was not that bad.
It's a perfect impression. It's perfect. That's exactly what she sounds like.
Yeah, we'll put your face up right there. Anyway,
now.
I think the best thing for me, I went to go see Spider-Man Homecoming. I was walking out and I saw a poster of the Emoji Movie. And at the time, I didn't know Patrick Stewart played the poop emoji, but it was just a poop emoji on there. And I was like, I almost took a picture of it and said, this is the perfect representation of what this movie is. It's just that. It's just poop.
I wonder how many reviewers just use the poop emoji to use for the score.
I would have if I was a person who wrote for the New York Post or somebody. Like, Chris, what's your review of it?
Yeah. I mean, what other chance are you gonna have if you're like a Hollywood reporter or a Variety critic to use a poop emoji in your scores? What other chance do you have?
And I think my editor-in-chief would be like, perfect, print it.
Print
go
it.
ahead and
Let's
go. And here's the thing. I'm all for those kind of. I'm all for kids' movies and the movies that are attractive and everything like that. Like, earlier this summer they did Captain Underpants, which people said wasn't that bad. That's fine. That's a big thing. That's for kids. Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about it. I've heard the name, but I don't know much about it. That's cool. You can go do that. If I had kids, I'll watch it. I'm not saying I wouldn't watch the movie if I did have kids, but it's just, like you said, the whole you could just look at things sometimes, like emojis.
Yeah.
It's like this. I don't know. It's like doing a movie about AOL Messenger or doing the I don't know. It's just.
It just felt like a bunch of older executives sat in a room and they were like, you know what my teenager loves? Emojis. We should make a movie about emojis. And this movie was being made around 2014.
Yeah.
Around the time that Inside Out was being made. So it seems like a bunch of older executives sat around in a room and they were like, Disney's making this great movie called Inside Out. Let's make Inside Out with something that we own. Emojis. So or they won a bidding war for it. I shouldn't say they own it, but they own it now. And so it's just they rushed this concept, trying to copy a little bit Inside Out, a little bit of Lego Movie. They got people that everybody respects. They got these big names on this film, like Patrick Stewart and T.J. Miller, who has fallen down in my book. I mean, come on, man. You're going to leave Silicon Valley and make movies like this? Come on. You're the star of Yogi 3D. He says that joke every time he gets on stage. Yeah.
Actually, you're right about that.
He is the star of Yogi 3D, and I can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
So you have all of these things, and weirdly enough, also produced by Scott Buck. No, I'm just kidding. You can't blame Scott Buck on the Emoji
At this
movie.
point, because I was like, I already had a headache, and I think it's like, man, this is starting to turn into a migraine.
And then also remember, there's a plot point in this movie. So I hear, again, I haven't watched this movie. There's a plot point in this movie where they go to actual apps that exist in the real world. So that they have tons of product placement in this movie, and it just seems so weird that this movie that's directed toward little kids is just pushing this like, buy this. And
because the problem, like you said, they don't know how to market it. You know what's funny?
And boy, did they market it. When I visited LA earlier this year, the Emoji Movie posters and advertisements were all over the place. They pushed this movie.
I saw when they were doing E3, they had a whole bunch of they had like stuff up too. And you're like you said, they pushed it. And I think it's kind of funny because I think back in the times when marketing used to push rated R movies to little kids to buy their stuff, like Terminator 2.
Those were simpler times.
Or even Jurassic Park, which is PG-13, but still.
Back when it was fun to traumatize children.
It was traumatized children. Now, no one knows how to do it right, and you have the right movies to do it, and you don't. But then at the same time, it's like, well, what are you going to push? And going back to it, one of the reasons why Disney animated movies are generally well done is because they sit there and they well thought out an idea. Sometimes they don't have to be the most original idea. I mean, Inside Out is just about the thought process of a teenage girl or just people in general, what they think of and emotions and stuff like that.
But it's such an
interesting way. It's such a deeply complicated movie that both kids and adults can get used to it. Yeah. Same as Zootopia, same as Moana.
Disney's knocking it out of the park. And then also a more recent movie, Kubo and the Two Strings.
Exactly.
Another movie that both kids and adults can enjoy.
And I can't think of a good 3D animated movie I saw this year that kids might have, or people that
we got Coco coming out sometime later this year or the year before.
That'd be good.
That's Disney Pixar, so I'm excited about it.
It's gonna be good. And then Incredibles 2 will be out next year around this time.
But so just more Disney movies.
The Emoji Movie, yeah.
We have Boss Baby. A lot of people like Boss Baby.
Boss Baby. Which, kudos to it because that's one of those ones, even when I saw the trailers, the commercials for it, I saw the appeal to both the kids and the adults. Because I was just like, okay, I see what they're kind of doing.
An Emoji Movie just missed the mark on it. They missed the mark on both. They didn't appeal to kids or adults.
Now, when you say missed the mark, do you mean the emoji in the mark miss? Like the bullseye missing mark?
Of course, I thought that was implied.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they missed the mark.
It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. If you had to choose between which one you would see now, Dark Tower or Emoji Movie, which one would you see?
Dark Tower, because from what I've heard, it is a fine movie. I've never read the Dark Tower movie books. I've never read the movies either, but I haven't read the books, so I'm not as emotionally invested in the source material as some people. Like my girlfriend's a big Stephen King fan, so obviously she's going to be paying attention to names and where does this go into this, and I can enjoy it as an action movie without having to compare it to the book.
Yeah,
and I hear there's a lot of ties to other Stephen King.
That's what I heard too.
There's a lot of It stuff. There's some.
And you got Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey, two fine actors of this time.
Yeah, and the kid I hear is good too.
Which is a funny part because I hate to say it, kids and
it's just that again they take this huge universe and they just smush it into a 95-minute film, and then they're trying to build this in some kind of Dark Tower universe. I'm assuming, and they smush it all in. Leave some of that for future films. Leave a little room for the story to breathe, and then when we want more, because you've let us want more, then make the sequel.
I know I mentioned his name a lot today, Christopher Nolan. One of the things I love that he said about making movies, you want to make the movie where it's good enough that it stands on its own. So if you want to make a sequel, you can, but if you don't ever, the movie is good enough as it is. And that's one of the things that I like about his movies, even his 3 Batman movies. All of them are set in a tone that, whether it was a sequel or not, the movie itself is good enough.
They have a beginning, middle, end.
And they do. And his non-related Batman movie, from Inception to Dunkirk to Interstellar, they had a middle beginning, and I like that. And I wish more people would do that with their movies.
There's this studio head mentality now with these huge companies. They have to build a franchise, so they're trying to think like Marvel's thinking. 3, 4, 5 movies in advance. That's why you hear like, oh, we're ready to make 14 Transformers movies. Oh, we're ready to make 6 Avatar movies. We're going to make a whole franchise of the Dark Tower, the Universal monsters. Worry about making a good film, and then when people react to your good film, that's when you decide to make the universe. That's what Marvel did at the beginning.
They did.
And Marvel hasn't made all good movies. Some of them have been real stinkers, like Iron Man 2. I did not enjoy that movie.
Or even the first 2 Thor movies.
The first 2 Thor movies had a lot to be desired. But they started out with that first good Iron Man movie in 2008. And then it spurred, we got this good Iron Man movie. We can use that as our resting stone, which they did. And then they made an okay Thor movie. They made an okay Captain America movie. Then they made a whatever Incredible Hulk movie. Not really stinkers, but they made all these origin films.
They did.
And then they did Avengers, which turned out to be this huge, great movie.
And that sets the
they're riding that momentum.
And you're right about that. And I just really kind of wish that more people would do that, because a few days ago, Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi, not Amazing Spider-Man 2, don't watch that. Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi one. I was sitting there watching it, and I was sitting there thinking like, wow, how well done a movie that is. And it wasn't even set in a multi-universe, which is one character, focus on that, and it's a good, just solid movie. It's not perfect, but it's a good, solid superhero movie. And I wish they would do the same thing with the Dark Tower, even the Emoji movie. Just make a good, solid movie. And that's just one of the problems that we had.
Worrying about all this other stuff.
Then again, we're almost towards the dead in the summer, so these are the kind of movies that just kind of, they kind of go there.
I just went and saw Atomic Blonde last night, and I really enjoyed that. Oh, speaking of just like quick reviews, I just mentioned Atomic Blonde. Atomic Blonde, really good action movie. Charlize Theron's great in it. Obviously did a lot of work. Thought the story was a little too complicated than what it needed to be.
She's like a female John Wick?
Yeah, but it's not as good as John Wick. If you want John Wick, just watch John Wick again. But this movie was watchable. I definitely enjoyed a lot of it, and I like the soundtrack. A lot of critics are bashing the soundtrack because it's too 80s, and I said, well, why can Atomic Blonde not do it? But when Guardians of the Galaxy does it, you're like, oh, that's a great soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack.
So,
or even Baby Driver.
Exactly. Baby Driver's got this like weird mix of 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So it's whatever. Go see Atomic Blonde. Definitely see it if you don't want to see Dark Tower or Emoji Movie, which probably don't.
There's some interesting movies that come out later this month. Personally speaking, for me, I wouldn't mind seeing The Hitman's Bodyguard.
I'm really excited about
Ryan
that.
Reynolds
That looks hilarious.
Yeah, and Samuel L. Jackson. And the new Steven Soderbergh movie with
Logan Lucky.
Logan Lucky, thank you. I couldn't think of the name of it. And it has Daniel Craig playing a Southerner.
I'm really excited
So
about that.
not only that, and you got Kylo Ren.
Yeah, you got little Kylo Ren,
Hey,
whose name, oh my goodness, I'm blanking. Channing Tatum is in there. Adam Driver.
Adam Driver. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, not John Boyega, not Daisy Ridley.
You're just going through.
I was sitting there thinking, I was trying to think of the credits. I was like,
I'm thinking Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I know.
Captain
I was sitting
Plasma.
there thinking like the guy who plays Chewbacca. I was like,
Peter Mayhew.
yeah, that's what I was sitting there thinking of. So I was sitting there. So there, you got all that.
And real quick, Ozark on Netflix. If you guys aren't watching Ozark on Netflix, obviously it's a Netflix show, so all the episodes are on there right now. Me and my girlfriend just binged this show. It is the new Breaking Bad. I'm calling it right now. It is the new Breaking Bad.
That is a bold statement.
This show, and I wish that I watch the show weekly, because it is also, like, Soldado is apparently going to be super dark, and I am super excited. It also has to do with the cartel. So I'm really excited about this show. I can't wait to see Jason Bateman in more serious roles. Every time he was in The Gift a year or two ago with Joel Edgerton. That movie was really good, seeing him in kind of a darker tone. And then this movie, I love seeing Jason Bateman in this more serious, dramatic role. I love him in comedies, but it's always refreshing. It's like seeing Jim Carrey in a drama. It's always good.
Oh, even one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies, I'm about to say this, is Punch Drunk Love.
One of my favorite
movies. And it's
movies.
a great movie to see him just play that serious role where he's not playing, ooh, look at me, I got a golf ball.
So definitely
Just
check
play
out
that,
Ozark on Netflix if you haven't. And also, I'm glad you said that. Punch Drunk Love is also on Netflix.
Punch Drunk Love's on there as well.
I spend a lot of time on Netflix.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, you also can spend a lot of time following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere. Just
like that
search.
segue.
I know, right? Just search for us at what2watch.com. You can watch the latest episodes of WRBL.com. You can watch the latest episode uploaded to YouTube when we do them, and you can just comment, like us, subscribe. Just tell us what you think. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
You know, just
You can follow me at Fretflix. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
follow us.
At Fretflix.
Follow him at Fretflix. I
What
probably
was that?
just that. What?
What was that?
Fretflix. I'm gonna have that little thing right there. I'm just gonna be like,
Rainbow.
I can't pronounce words because I don't have a high school education.
Where can people find you at, Chris?
They can find me here or at Crick Gates at Twitter. You can look for me there as well.
Nobody says at Twitter.
I do.
It's at Chris Gates. The at goes in front.
You
Why are you so old?
Dude!
Why?
I'm in my 30s.
You're so old.
I can't help
You
it.
have wrinkles on your forehead.
No, not again! The black mask is supposed to take it off.